Man, I cannot see in this thing. How does Pyramid Head do it? Hello everyone and welcome to another Gaming Backlog! Woo! It's the spooky season and it's time to add more horror games to our backlog. And what could be more perfect than remakes of our old beloved video games? There have been a ton of new remakes recently, and many have been a huge success. And there is one remake that has been catching everyone's attention as of late, and that is Silent Hill 2 Remake. Not a lot of people were ecstatic at the announcement of this remake though, knowing that the team behind the remake creates not so good horror games. That would be unsettling. What if they don't do the OG game justice? What if they make changes that will ultimately kill an already dying, if not already dead, franchise? That does make you think though, doesn't it? What makes a great remake? What can game devs do to add and improve to an already beloved story and gameplay while being faithful to the original? If we were to look for a game, especially in the horror genre, that was as influential as Silent Hill and has masterful remakes, I think we can look no further than Resident Evil, specifically Resident Evil 2. Released in 1998, Resident Evil 2 got raving reviews from critics, saying that it had all the things players love from the first game and more, but with a more interactive cinematic experience that you won't normally see in video games. We nearly got a remake back in 2002, but Capcom wanted everyone to work on Resident Evil 4. However, after the success of RE1 Remake, Capcom went on to work on RE2 and delivered an action-packed game but still honored the original by keeping the George Romero-inspired vibe that game was influenced by. And people absolutely loved it. Open critics said that it might be the best Resident Evil game ever released so far, even coined it as the gold standard for how to do a remake, combining the original's nostalgia with modernized and fresh gameplay to bring an awesome experience for players old and new. That sounds like an incredibly huge honor. With the RE2 remake receiving the remake golden standard status, how will that reflect on the Silent Hill 2 remake? Surely, people will look to the RE2 remake as a reference now. Silent Hill 2 was released in 2001 after the stellar success of the first game. Its slow, suspenseful, eerie vibe that focused on psychological horror stood out against many horror games at the time, and it became influential to the horror genre and eventually became a household name. In October 2022, it was officially announced that Silent Hill 2 was getting a remake. This is big news to Silent Hill fans since the awaited PT Silent Hills was cancelled in 2015. But when the news broke out that the Bloober team will be handling the remake, well, people are not too happy. If you aren't up to speed, the Bloober team is responsible for horror games that, well, to put it plainly, aren't so good. Their recent game, The Medium, got critics hyped up before release, but when they got to play it, needless to say, it was quite mid.
Disappointed!
So of course, with that info in mind and hearing that they will be responsible for bringing the beloved Silent Hill 2 remake to life, you can't help but be worried. But after its launch, people were very surprised. The Bloober team pulled it off, and Silent Hill 2 Remake succeeded with flying colors. Critics have praised it, saying that it stayed faithful to the original game, but did you know it almost wasn't that way? The original producers of Silent Hill 2 wanted to change many things in their remake that Bloober team ultimately challenged. Motoi Okamoto said in an interview with Video Games Chronicle that the OG staff were keen on making so many changes on the remake because they wanted to use the opportunity to mix things up instead of retracing their steps. This is understandable from the game developing side, I guess, and it is called a remake after all. You would want to change things up or add stuff. But the Bloober team resisted many of those ideas, but in the end, they reach a compromise of honoring the original story by retaining key story points while adding more depth to the lore. So what else makes a game a remake instead of just a remaster? Aside from adding and or improving the storyline, I would say it's also updating the gameplay to fit today's standards. But wouldn't that mean it won't stick to the original the way people loved it in the first place? I hear you say. Well, not necessarily. I mean, kinda like in the RE2 remake where they updated the game's camera angles to be over the shoulder rather than the old late 90s fixed camera. RE2 Remake's perspective changes helped more with the immersion. As producer Tsuyoshi Kanda said in an interview with Polygon regarding the remake, "We still have a certain claustrophobia to the camera angle. It's very up close and personal with the characters on screen, and I think we've been able to translate it into something that feels natural and pick up and playable to modern gamers. But it doesn't lose that sense of claustrophobic horror that fans expect from the original game." RE Engine was used for the RE2 remake, rendering everything looking photorealistic. It helped the game feel more immersive, with Raccoon City looking like it was really lived in, and those zombies just look so damn gnarly. The amount of stress I had to endure. See that hallway? See that hallway? Yeah, I hate that hallway. And I think Silent Hill 2 Remake was also able to pull that vibe off. Using Unreal Engine 5 for the remake, the updated graphics gave the game a more surreal experience, with that iconic fog being so much more eerie. Ugh, man, I didn't really like that. But in a good way. I mean, I just don't like horror games. But anyway, every aspect seems meticulously updated and upgraded. The additional details that add to the level of immersion make you feel like you're part of James Sunderland's journey in Silent Hill. Just like the RE2 remake, they changed the perspective from a fixed camera angle to a third-person over-the-shoulder perspective. Following those footsteps, it keeps you tense and alert. And I gotta tell ya, I was tense, alright! I don't do well with horror games, and yet here I am in Silent Hill. I love my job, I love my job, I love my job. Well anyway, remakes can be a hit or miss, but one thing's for sure when it comes to a successful one: respect the beloved original while making most of the improvements on the gameplay and graphics. Many have thought that because of Hideo Kojima leaving Konami and ultimately cancelling PT, that the Silent Hill franchise is just dead. But the Bloober team seems to have a defibrillator at hand and was able to shock the franchise back to life with this remake. It's actually really beautiful how this remake not only calls back old fans to play the game they've known and loved when they were younger, but it also calls to a whole new generation of horror fans to experience a captivating and thrilling game that has been dubbed one of the best video games of all time by many gaming organizations and critics. But that's the beauty of remakes, don't you think? You get to replay the game you once loved as a kid, and while you get to play it yourself in a more upgraded setting, you also get to introduce it to the next generation who can keep beloved games alive as time moves forward. And that's it for today's Gaming Backlog. We've also reviewed Silent Hill 2 Remake on our website, so don't forget to check that out. We're also having a video review of it. Make sure to check that out. Links will be in the description below. We've got more content other than this one, so make sure to subscribe to our channel and click that bell button to be notified when we have new videos. Well everyone, this has been Shelle, and we'll see you in the next one. Once I find my way out of this fog. Bye!